How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you've had a great week. Alright, this week we are going to get some acoustic treatment in the room and sorted. I have a plan to get some bass traps down the bottom underneath the desk near the subwoofer. I've got a plan to putting some panels on the walls, and I'm also planning to hang a panel above my head above the mixing desk area, or two panels, have them suspended as a cloud. That's my plan. I might put something on the butcher's fridge, as my mate keeps calling it, or as everyone else knows it as, the booth, as well. I don't know yet, we'll see how we sound. However, the carpet is doing quite a good job already, but I know I've got some reflection points to sort in the corners behind the speakers. So, let's give it a go. I've got a bunch of these. These are the corner traps I picked up second hand, and I've also got some flat panels as normal, these two mounted to a board already. So I've got some of these, I've got some of those. Let's see how we do. Let's get on with it. Let's go. Alright, so the first part I think of doing, nice and simple, is these bass traps can sit on the floor. I can also connect them together to create like blocks. So I think I'm going to get under the desk, I'm going to tighten up the cables for a second, and then I'm going to put four of these, or at least two of them, behind the subwoofer against the wall, and they can sit there and work. That's the first plan. Let's do that. I think two of them is just going to do the job under here, for it to be fair with you. Right. It's only between the gap here of the lights, the lamp stands, which are the speakers sit on. I think we might be laughing at that like that. Put that in the middle. Okay, so these top ones, temporary probably at the minute, I'll leave them there for a bit, see how I get on. I probably will move them. I can't decide what I want to do exactly with them yet, but at the time being, they'll do the top reflection points. I've also put some down right in the bottom corners. You can't see them behind the table, so but they'll do the low end right in the bottom corners as well. Right, I've got these panels here. There's two already pre-made on a board, same size. And I've measured for my speakers, and my listening position is 42 inches, which, funnily enough, is right where I need it to be, away from the speakers. So I've got my equilateral triangle 42 inches apart from each side of the centre ones there. The wider ones, obviously, they're a bit wider, so I just got to sit a bit further back. But I mostly work on the M Audio, the smaller ones, because I'm so familiar with them from using them for the last 19 years. So I'm going to continue using them and then use the bigger ones just as reference speakers. Right, I'll put a panel around that area there, and I'm going to do the same on the opposite side over here, which is roughly in line with my listening position. Obviously I can't go any further that way because of the window. So we're going to do that, put them opposite each other, then that'll be one, symmetrical, but two, they'll work ideally there as well. It means if I do move my speaker positions a little bit, it doesn't matter too much. So I'm going to mark them there. On the plus side, because I built the room, I know where the studs are. So I'm going to drill straight into the studs on both sides, and the board, they'll be fine like that. That's the plan with that. Right, let's do that, and then I'll figure out the next bit. The hardest bit will be doing the cloud above me. And yes, I'm familiar, I'm aware, I've got a dodgy light. It's playing up and I need to get it replaced. So that's a job on my to-do list as well. Nice. Right, one side's up, other side's up. It's definitely starting to look like a studio now. It's quite nice. Right, okay. I have noticed also that I'm going to have to paint the edges of these boards black at some point. So when I get a free moment at some point, maybe in the winter when I've got a bit of downtime, I'll put a lick of paint around them. But for the moment, they're practical, they look good, and that's the main thing. Okay, so I've got to get some fixings to do the ceiling cloud. I've got a cloud ready to go. Same as these, but just a little bit longer. Already mounted to some hardboard, which is great. So I'm going to mount that, and because we've got a slanted ceiling still, obviously, I'm going to mount it on chains, so then we can have it level. And we're going to put that right before the light on this side, and that'll be right above my mixing position. Right, and then after that, I'll then focus on the back end of the room, and I'll figure out what I need. I might not need anything, because I've got the curtains and there's like the carpet. Might be alright. Or what I might do is I might just tuck some acoustic treatment above the booth there, and use blacker treatment so you won't see it, but it will be there as a foam kind of barrier, and then make that blend in. I don't really want to put anything on the walls of the booth, because with the door shut it actually looked quite nice. Also already thinking about another panel here, so there's another panel there, and then potentially then one behind the door, or where the door is, it'll meet the door there. Right, anyway, until then, next job on the agenda is I'm going to put a rail up on the ceiling, and that rail is going to hold mic stands for the overheads for recording drums, although it can also hold anything really, so then I'm not having too many mic stands trailing around on the floor. So let's get those in. I've got a rail, which is technically an old mic stand arm, like a boom arm. That's long enough for what I need it for, so we're going to mount that in there on, this is what recycling is all about, on the arms that came with my curtain rails. So I'm going to mount them. I might take them off in the future, spray them black and remount them, but for today we're going to mount them, mount the rail, and then I've got these arms that will mount to the rail, and then I've also then got arms which will then mount to them, so we've got full flexibility all the way around, up, down, anywhere you want to go. Oh, we're looking at here. That's got centre then. Need some longer screws. Come on, get in there. Oh, just. It needs to be thicker than that, doesn't it? I just found an old curtain rail. Perfect. Perfect. Now the beauty of this is I can mount them wide if I want to as well, but we're going to go on the inside to start. Let's see how we get on. Nice. Now the funny thing is I've seen this idea before online, however I thought about it a lot recently and then someone else did it online as well, I noticed. So it's a proven working method. And in a space like this, where I haven't got much space, and this booth, a drum kit will fill this booth, enough room for the drummer to come in the door and sit, i.e. me or Sam or, you know. This means we ain't got stuff hanging on the, standing on the floor, you know. We've got full flexibility then on these as well, which is nice. So I'm just going to set them up for a minute, see how we go. Although there are eye lines, I'm going to whack my head on it at some point, I guarantee. And we're back on another day. Alright, time to get this panel of acoustic foam stuff. I don't know what I'm saying, I haven't thought about this at all. Time to get that thing mounted above my head. Let's do it, let's go, yes. Alright then, so I've got some cushions on the sofa. Well, that's a separate thing, that doesn't really matter. Anyway, I've got some cushions on the sofa. Right, got some lengths, offcuts from previous projects. They're pretty much the same length, shy by an inch or two, that doesn't matter. So I'm going to put these lengths down the edges, or the longer two edges, just so it gives the board some rigidity. And then we're going to put some hooks in the beams and some hooks in the ceiling, on the beams and the ceiling, and then put it up in place. I've got some chain to hang it because the ceiling is obviously a slant, that we already know about this. So we're going to have it as a flat thing. Just going to get on with it, going to get it done. Yeah. Alright, not the prettiest, but it's up there. That's the main thing. I'm going to get some trim. I'm going to do some black trim around it just to make it look nice. I've got plenty of offcuts from like what I did on the top here, etc. So I'm going to cut some bits, paint them black and fit them up, and then that'll sort that out and look nice. However, it's level, it's in the middle. That's ideal. Right. I'll get onto those bits in a bit. Right, I've got a pillow for the kick drum, for the higher kit, and I'll sort that out. And here's a sneak peek to what I was doing last night. Okay then, so as you just saw, I brought a drum kit in the booth yesterday, and it's already packed up again because it's a hire kit, and it's now freshly bagged, ready to go out at the end of the month for its first hire this year. Anyways, I had the kit in here and I did play it, and I could hear some really horrible reflections coming from the ceiling when playing the kit. So I'm going to get the remaining acoustic treatment from the old wall that matches what I've done in here. I'm going to put that, I'm going to continue the theme across the ceiling and match it up with the wall. That's the plan with that. Hopefully that will get rid of those reflections. I might then, depending on how many panels I've got left, might continue it across here, across the whole ceiling, although I have a feeling I might not have enough panels to do that. So if I don't, I may leave it white, may leave it plain for a minute, or I've got loads of black ones that match what is on the walls and on the cloud, so I will maybe just use some of them and do that. See how we go with it. But I've got plenty of acoustic treatment to choose from. I've also got these. I built these little corner traps years ago. I've got 2 of them, the other one's in the other room. And I'm toying with the idea of sticking them up in this corner back here. That's my plan, that's my thought. But I'm going to continue the theme a minute, and then we'll make a decision and go from there. So let's get that done. Right, that is the blue and black tiles all used up across the top here. It's looking good. I just got to get them pinned up a bit harder because the tape isn't quite working in with how much is pushed up against the wall, but I'll sort that in a minute. I might leave this side open because it might be okay now with the reflection that I was hearing, now that I've got half the ceiling done. I'll give it a go with the drums again and we'll see how it sounds. If it's not quite right, then I will continue to tile the wall. I've got plenty of tiles left in the box here, so I can always do that if I need to. However, I do need to get a few more acoustic panels in the room in here, so we'll see how that goes in a minute. And we're back on another day. How you doing? Right, got some little bits and bobs to do today. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get an edge across the top of the cloud, make it look nice, going to paint it black, hide all the the stuff you don't really want to see, and I might also put an edge down this top corner so when you look in the window you won't see it, but then I might not even bother with that because you're only going to see it in here, aren't you? So let's put an edge across there, a bit at an angle, but it's to mostly hide the hooks and the chain. That's the main thing, that is the main idea. Let's get it done. That's sketchy. I don't like that at all. But it's up, it's done. That looks better than it was. You can still kind of see the hook, but no one's going to look up like that. Right out. On to the next thing. Alright then, we've got one more job before I'm going to call it for this video. So, I've got a stage box, which I'm going to mount on the wall in the booth, and we're going to run the cable right around down the outside and plug it into the desk. So we've got some connections for the drum kit when we get that in properly soon. That's the plan, so let's get it done right now. Alright, I've got a drum kit in here already, ready to go on a hire, so it's a bit full in here. Right, I left a gap here, which I can already see isn't big enough for this. My plan is, because I don't want to open it up anymore, to keep it as sound tight as possible, I'm planning to, if I can, get this through the hole, and I'm going to try and run the cable that way. Now obviously I can't reach round and grab it, so I'm thinking if I keep feeding the cable, because it's quite taut and thick, I'll be able to just keep feeding it and it will just loop over itself, and then I'll be able to grab it and pull it through. That's the plan. Right, that's the snake ran. I want to mount it to the wall. There's no mounting points already drilled on the box, so I'm going to pre-drill them. I'll do that tomorrow or another day, so I can mount that right above the hole that goes through the booth. Happy days with that. That's now sorted. It's now run all the way down the side of the room, and the tails are just down there in the end, ready to go into the back of the desk. Now I need to rearrange the cabling at the back of the desk, so that's a job for another day when I want to give it a whole thing an overhaul, really tidy it up. I also want to make some cables that are the correct length to do the job, so I haven't got loads of excess cable on the floor. So I might buy a reel of cable and some ends and then do them to order, should we say, but I'll make them to measure. That's the plan with that. I've also then got to sort out a rack for the in-house, should we say, guitar amp and bass amp, and the DIs. I'm going to get a DI rack unit as well as my headphone amp that I've got here already. I've just got to put that in there as well and wire that up. So that's a job for another day. Right, I'm going to call it here for this video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out and checking out the continuation of the Epic Home Studio build. We're getting there. We're just doing all the little bits and bobs now, which is great. If you haven't already, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Really helps support the channel and really, helps us grow as a place to be. Right, don't forget, share with your friends, take it easy, have a great week, and I will see you next week. Take it easy, cheers, and gone.